Right. Hello.
Hello. Oh, I wanted to change my earrings.
It's not leave. Hello.
Hello. I feel
How
like
are
my
you?
head looks so small.
Really?
Like a little pea head.
It's when you have slick back bun. It's just giving like
I know.
little bean.
I know.
How's life?
Life is lifing.
Life is lifing. Just like last week, life is lifing.
I'm like,
Mina's
that
going
lady.
around.
Yeah.
Like literally going crazy.
Oh, I just need a break, man.
We should go to Dubs.
We're going to Dubs.
We're going to Dubai.
Dubs 2024.
Anyways, we'll talk about that another time, guys. So today we've got quite. I think it's kind of controversial. So there's a tweet that went viral. Shall I read the tweet?
Go for it.
Because you've seen the video, so I'm going to read the tweet. Love when Americans address us all as Europeans, as if we're all one big country. If that were the case, then Europeans, the country, would have 116 gold medals, 122 silver, and 160 bronze medals from this year's Olympics.
How much medals did USA get?
What in total?
I get it
Medals.
because I feel like Americans just say things for convenience. So they're probably just saying Europe, like, as a whole. Which I get because technically we are in Europe.
So they won 40 gold, 44 silver, and 42 bronze.
Okay, so basically like
so nowhere near what we
third of-
would have won if we were one country.
so basically like a quarter of what we...
Would have won.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the thing is, I don't think it's convenience. I think, and I'm not saying this in a rude way, and I know this word comes across rude, I think it's ignorance. And I say that because I just don't think that they get taught about Europe like that. Like, I think, like, if you watch, and that's what I'm saying, I'm not saying it in a rude way, I'm saying, like, they generally just don't get that kind of school education about Europe, just like we wouldn't get that much school education on America. Like, everything I know about America is from, like, prior to, like, going there, is from TV. I don't think I really learned anything in school.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think, like, generally, like, in Europe, we learn about Europe, and in America, they learn about America.
I think also people don't know how big Europe is because even me, till like a few years ago, there's certain places that you think about and you're like, oh, that's in Europe. Like even thinking about Turkey and stuff. So
No,
far.
Turkey's in Asia.
Turkey?
Yeah.
It's not in Europe.
I don't think so. Because I remember someone told me that and I was like shocked.
I mean, I thought it was, but maybe I'm just thinking of like the
To
flights.
which continent? Turkey, country that occupies a unique geographic position, laying partly in Asia and partly in Europe.
Oh.
So,
Okay, so it's still in Europe.
but then Russia is in Europe.
Yeah.
Russia is huge.
Yeah.
Like crazy big.
Yeah.
So like I think the problem is that, like I said, like they don't learn that much about Europe. They only know about a specific amount of countries that are like popular. So like London, which is in many ways the UK is probably the most similar to America in terms of like culture.
But that's the same with European people because some people, obviously not us because we're more well traveled, but some people only know New York, LA,
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Washington, Florida.
What I'm saying, I feel like Americans and Europeans are ignorant to each other. Like we don't learn about it. Like I didn't learn that much in school about America. The most I probably learned was that America were allies in the war. That's all I can really tell you. Like I actually don't know much beyond that I learned in school. And then like, okay, the American, and like the US slave trade, for instance, like we were educated on that. However, that's probably like the vast majority of
we
like,
didn't
what
have
we
a
learned.
lot of education on that.
I
Apart
had
from,
some.
like, Black History Month where they
But that's when I learned it. Black History Month.
and they'll give you like one or two things. But thinking about it, like what you had one history lesson a week, that's 4 lessons a month. That's 5 years of school. That's 20 Black History lessons in the whole time of.
That's crazy. Yeah, like you're right.
Yeah, so 20 Black History lessons is crazy.
And like the thing is, like some of those history lessons were more based on like UK or European Black history, which would be like the Windrush and things like that. So like we weren't actually like spending like months and months doing modules on like the US slave trade, for instance. And even like we barely learned about the UK slave trade at all.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the whole like ignorance thing, I think we're just very ignorant to each other. And like that's not to be rude, that's just like if you haven't gone out and done your research or if you're not well traveled, what would you actually know?
Yeah.
You know? So I think the biggest thing about that thread, so I haven't read the whole thread, but I know from some videos like what was said. And a lot of people were saying the main thing that Americans were saying that made the cultural differences was like vast landscapes. So basically like to get from New York to LA is like 5 hours, but to get across the UK is like in a plane, I mean. But like to get across the UK in a plane is like an hour. So like America has like much vaster landscapes in terms of the country. However, if we're talking about Europe as a whole, I think we're on par with the landscape. We
What's
have
bigger in terms of square meters, Europe or
um
America?
I feel like with Russia we got to say Europe, surely.
Europe is, yeah. And it says that Europe is much more densely populated with over twice the population of the US. So, because I think America has a lot of like empty space.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the states, like, so you can have like a massive state in America, but it could have like only small towns and then there's like not a lot of people. Or then you could have like New York, which is very densely populated. It's like state to state, like the density of people and like stuff is very different. Like, I'm not saying like state to state, like the states aren't different, but I'm like, okay, so like here's a fact I got up because I thought language is like the most obvious thing that has to be different because although I feel like America is a massive melting pot, like they have a lot of different countries there, like people who have immigrated there, they don't have like languages that are indigenous to America is actually quite large. I was actually quite shocked by this. So let me get the facts. Let me get the facts.
This is interesting. It says in both Europe and United States, driving from one end to the other takes over 5,000 kilometers, 3,100 miles. However, the route through Europe is slightly longer.
That's probably because it's not one piece of land.
They're saying the route from Hammerfast, Norway, to Europe's northeastern corner in Portugal.
So not going through all the countries, just going like one end to the other.
Yeah, like the top end to the bottom end. They're basically saying. So they're comparing the same thing.
So there were around 300 indigenous languages spoken in the United States. However, majority are now extinct, if not more than half. So 175 languages are still spoken today. However, most of them are on the verge of extinction. Then if you go to Europe, 250 languages are still spoken today. So we speak
That's
more.
A lot of languages compared to countries.
Yeah, because each country doesn't have, like, certain countries will have more than one indigenous language. So like the most, I think it's Asia and Africa are much more vast in language. Like you have loads of languages per country still spoken. Whereas in Europe, there's a lot less. However, there's still more languages spoken in Europe than there are spoken in America when we're talking indigenous languages. So we're not talking like a Chinese person who's immigrated to America and they still speak Chinese. We're talking indigenous languages that come from Europe. 250 languages still spoken till this day.
That's quite a lot.
That's a lot of languages. And like I think that's where the difference stands. It's like it's not that America doesn't have a lot of cultures because so many people are there. Like you have little India, you have Philippines, you have like little Korea and stuff. Like you have all these little areas that in like different states even that share like different culture. So it makes like each state very different because like you could go to one state and there's more Filipino people, for instance, and then you go to another state, there's more Mexican people, and that will play a massive amount on the like today's culture. However, in Europe, if we're talking like us as indigenous people, so not me and you really, but more you than me, but like there's more going on with those cultures because there's more of them here that are indigenous. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah
It doesn't.
It's very interesting.
You don't get it, do you? Do you get it?
I'm just like, this is great.
But then or like even for instance like America, okay, so similarity in America, everybody celebrates Thanksgiving and everyone celebrates 4th of July.
Yeah, this is what the guy said.
Yeah, but we celebrate Christmas. You celebrate Pust?
Well, no, I don't.
Yeah, but like Slovenian people do.
Yeah, but it's like I wouldn't celebrate at home here.
Fair, but I mean, like your people do.
Yeah, but it's not
That's
like
their
it's not
holiday.
Like a national. No, it's not like a day off. It's just like a. I think they probably celebrate like a weekend or something. It's not like a national, more like cultural to their, like native to their country as well. But I'm sure like American states have different like celebrations and stuff too that we probably don't know about. New Orleans have like all these different things that like other states don't
Mardi
celebrate.
Gras and stuff like that.
Yeah, like they have their own like parties and whatnot. And
okay, another thing that I found, the healthcare system, that is also a big difference. But I didn't know this. The UK has free healthcare. Not everyone in Europe does.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought everyone in Europe did.
No. But the healthcare that's in Europe that you pay for is apparently like 1,000 times better. Because my cousin from Texas, she came to have like surgery done in like, I don't know, it's like Germany or one of these places. Because it's like completely different. Or maybe it was like Switzerland, I don't know. And she paid for it because she was like, I'm not having mine. Like big back surgery done in
America.
Yeah.
But why?
She came to Europe. It was different. It was a different type of surgery. She'd done the research, like the levels of what they were doing was like 100 times more research and whatever. Like she had a specific thing that she needed to get done. So she was like, I'm going to pay and do it there.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people from America come to like, go to like Dubai to have babies because it's cheaper. So like in America, I
mean,
think
yeah.
like a baby is like
I think anywhere would be cheaper other than America to have a baby.
I think it's like 10 grand. So it's like the base in America.
Mm.
From this is like TikTok knowledge, so like I can't say like it's a fact. In Dubai, the bill was like 5 grand,
Mm.
and apparently it's like 5 grand is like really good service, like private room, all that stuff. Whereas like 10 grand in America is like meant to be like the basic.
I mean, it
know how
costs
much
like
this stuff
2 grand
costs
just to go to the A&E.
in
Like
the UK.
no, in America.
So like if you fall and like
Yeah.
break your knee,
So my
that's
cousin
2 grand.
called the ambulance to this girl, and she was like, no, like don't call them,
Mm.
because she didn't want to pay the bill. Yeah, just to get them to come and take you to the urgent care center, whatever it is.
So then, but like, if you're in a country in Europe, for instance, and you used to say you hurt yourself, and then you go to the, because like actually no, this happened to me when I was in Croatia. Like my friend like had an bike accident, and she had to go to the hospital, then she had to pay in cash. So like you just go pay in cash anywhere in Europe where you just like hurt yourself.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever been. I went to a European hospital. I went to a hospital in Greece, but my friends, I can't remember what happened. I don't think we paid for it though.
I did see recently this like article with this girl who had gone to Greece actually, and she had an accident, and I think I want to say she broke her back. It was like something quite serious, and then she woke up in the hospital and basically she can't leave because she has this massive bill to pay and her insurance won't cover it. That's really scary, you know.
I mean, surely, like, but if you don't have the money, what they're gonna do? They can't keep you in there forever. It's gonna be a waste of their time and waste of their beds. They'll just have to send you the bailiffs round at one point.
Maybe you have to like mop the floors,
because that's what they do in America. They like keep you. I mean, they don't keep you. They then send you your bills afterwards, and it's like your debt.
That's scary.
Yeah. So people getting. I mean, this happened to also one of my friends in America. She had a lot of debt. I think she broke her wrist or her leg or something like that, and it was like, I think she was more stressed about the debt than she was about the.
Well, then I guess that's like
breaking.
the same for most, like in certain European countries and America. Then like if you're like fucked basically, like you got cancer or something, you give no choice.
I don't know how it works in Europe though.
Nor do I.
They might be more like lenient because I never really hear anybody complaining about healthcare in Europe, so it must be better.
I think it's subsidized to a degree.
Yeah.
But I just think it's not like completely free like how it is here. But then like I don't know. It's scary. That scares me a bit, like the whole like getting sick somewhere else and like what do you do thing. Because I remember when I even just like I got food poisoning when I was in the Philippines and it was really bad. Like I was like sick for like 10 days, so I had to go to the hospital and like, I think it cost me like £300 just to like check what was wrong with me and get medication. Like, and that was just for like food poisoning. Imagine if you had like a serious thing.
But how do people if you can't pay it? Like, what do you actually do?
I actually don't know. Like, I actually don't know what happens. Like, you just, I heard this story and I don't know if this is factual, but and it wasn't in Europe, it was in Kenya this happened. And this guy basically, he ended up in hospital. Like, I think something happened. He woke up in hospital, like, and then he had been there for a while. Like, he'd been in a coma. And then he woke up and they were basically like, you owe the hospital like this much money basically. And then he was like, well, I don't have any, I like live on the streets, I'm like poor, I have no money. And then they were like, well, you're gonna have to like work your debt off. And then he was like basically living in the hospital as like the janitor.
What?
Yeah, this is what he said, but I don't know how true this story is. And then he was basically laying like he had to like he basically eventually escaped one day because he said there was like a patient, and the patient like he took the patient's clothes, put them on so that he didn't look like the janitor
sounds
anymore,
like a movie.
and left. And then that's how he escaped.
But they can't do that to everyone. They just have a dungeon underneath the hospital, and all the workers are chained up who weren't able to pay their hospital bills.
I don't know if it's true, but this is the story he told me. It was like on a tour. It was like a tour in Kenya, and this guy was like, he had like one person with each person. They were like telling them about their experiences and stuff in Kenya, and he basically said like this was his life, and I was like, what?
In America, there's also so many levels of healthcare. Like it's so nuts because if you get like subsidized, like you obviously have to pay monthly for like your health insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's so many different levels. Like some people obviously get it with work and stuff. That might be like the basic. Like there's so many different packages.
So if you get like a basic healthcare with your work, and then you want to like go premium, you pay the extra.
You have to pay more. Yeah, there's certain things that like aren't covered.
And then like how much? Do you know how much healthcare is?
I mean, I have a friend who has Obamacare. I don't know if that's still a thing, but like certain states, depending on how much you make, you can obviously pay less or whatever. But like, I mean, I don't know. I think the basic's probably like 100 a month for the basic.
That's not cheap at all.
But then if you get private healthcare here, you're basically paying the same price.
Is that how much healthcare is here privately?
Yeah, you can get it for less, but it depends on what you want.
I want to
included.
get private healthcare actually, because even though healthcare is free, it's not great, is it?
I mean, we're very like, I don't think I realized until recently like that we're privileged to get it for free. Just when you hear about other people and things that happen, I can just break my leg and walk into the hospital and get it fixed.
But then, to be honest, if we say it's free, it's not really free, is it? Because we've been paying for it since the day we started working.
Yeah.
With national insurance, so you've been paying for it. So like when your big surgeries come, your pot's been waiting, really and truly.
Yeah, but you might not pay how much. I don't think you pay the amount. If you see a bill for a broken leg, you've probably not paid
How much
that
is a
much
bill
into
for a broken
it.
leg, do you reckon?
I don't know. I saw something recently that was saying how much things in the NHS cost.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Should I check
And
ChatGPT?
I think it was after that. It was like, I think it was like lockdown times when I saw that, and I thought I've never thought about this and how much prescriptions cost and how much like all these things. And I'm like, I've never thought how much medical procedures in the UK cost because they've always been free. Because I go like private for my dental, so then it's like when you start paying like private dental, then it's like, oh, like these things actually cost money.
Simple fracture, $2,500 to $5,000. Complex fracture, $17,000 to $35,000. Emergency room visit, $500 to $3,000.
Yeah, I told you.
X-ray, $200 to $1,000. Casting, $200 to $500. Surgery, if needed, $10,000 to $30,000 plus. Physical therapy, $10 to $350 per session. Fuck.
The cost of an overnight hospital
house
stay in the UK can be up to £483 per night, excluding surgery costs.
400
just to stay a night.
£400. That's not even. It's not even a nice hotel. Like what the hell?
An ambulance call out costs £269. A broken arm, 3,116. A broken leg, 5,684.
That's insane.
That's what I mean. You literally don't think of these things at all. But I do think European healthcare is better.
What than American on the whole? But also, like, the thing is, in America, like, I feel like it's very incentivized to be a doctor in America. Because, like, after you come out of school, you graduate, most people go straight into work because they need doctors, and they're making, like, really good salaries, you know? Like, in America, people are like, oh, like, remember every film is like, oh, I want to marry a doctor because doctors got money. Here, fucking on minimum wage.
Yeah, the doctors here.
It's not good.
Great. And a lot of them have, like, side jobs. A lot of doctors here that work for the NHS, they then go and do like another hospital or private hospital, like on the side.
I've heard working full-time private here is good money, but working for the NHS is bullshit. Another difference I've got written down: tipping culture.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we touched on this in a previous podcast episode, but like tipping culture in America is like a big deal
because my cousin explained this because they obviously don't make enough money, so they're getting like $4 an hour, and then their tips are basically making their living, right? Which I completely get, but at the same time,
I don't think it should be my fault. I don't think it should be like our responsibility to make sure that someone's paid. I think it's the government's responsibility to like set the right laws.
I don't know if they have national minimum wage in America, because obviously, but we have that because we've got London living wage and then we've got like the UK wage. But like, what is the national wage in America? It's like nothing.
Should we do like a New York versus London? Let's see.
New York is $16 an hour.
The national living wage is £11.02 an hour.
So it's kind of similar then. So but then New York's more expensive to live.
And then the London living wage is £13.50 an hour. So minimum wage is £13.50. No.
New York's like £12.
So it's not far. Oh, it's 12. So it's like that's not far off at all.
Yeah, but remember, New York is
way more expensive to live in. So that's crazy, really, when you think about it. Because like most jobs, if you get like most jobs here, like let's say a standard job of like, I don't know, an interior designer. If I got an interior design job in America, New York, it'd be double the salary because it's double the cost to live there.
But I also think it says that basically in like the state of New York, the minimum wage for a food service worker is $10.65. So that's why. So they're not making that $16.
So it goes down.
Yeah, so if you work in the food service or bar or whatever, because that's why. So basically, this means that employers can pay a minimum wage of $10 in cash and allow employees to receive up to $5.35 in tips per hour. Sometimes they make more than that.
Yeah, they make thousands sometimes. All right, let's check Paris just for like a bit more like range. The hourly rate in Paris is €11.53. So that's the least. Paris is actually the least.
And they don't get tips.
And they I don't know. Do they get tips in Paris?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think I give tips.
Maybe like service charge.
I think that's one way that like minimum wage is like a way that like states and countries in Europe are similar. Like it varies state to state in America. It varies place to place in the UK. and probably similar in, I would imagine in Paris, the minimum wage is higher than it is in like Bordeaux, you know, or
Yeah, for
Champagne,
sure. Yeah.
because it's like cheaper living there.
Yeah, the
than
same as if you go
Paris.
to like the south or something. It's probably
Exactly.
less.
So I feel like that is a similarity with us all. What
It's
else?
a hard life over there.
Where? In America?
Yeah.
I genuinely do think that life is harder there.
And
Even
food
just
is
down to, like,
expensive.
I just think everything is like very, very expensive there. And I think the rat race is a lot more like in the UK. I think the rat race is like quite a lot. Like it's like a lot. Everyone's like busy, hustle, bustle, never stopping, always anxious, blah, blah, blah. America, I feel like it's double that.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of Europe is like half of that.
And Americans take their work very seriously. Like, I'm not saying that we don't here, but like,
I don't think we take it as serious.
No way. Like, I see the differences between like people in their careers, and it's crazy. Like, I'm like, you guys really care about your jobs.
I feel like it's a personality. Like your job is part of your personality there.
It is.
Like, whereas for us, it's like, I don't know, it's a hard one because like, then do we like, we live for the weekend? Like we live to get out of work basically. Whereas they like, their jobs are so intertwined with like who they are as a person that it's just like a way of life.
They're like proud. That's like part of them. Like they're proud of that. It's like, this is me and I work for whatever, and that means something. You know, you're like somewhere on the podium, depending on like, oh, I work for this like Fortune 500 or Fortune.
That's quite sad though.
And then they're like, oh, like it means a lot. Maybe it's just those industries. I don't know, because I've never worked in like finance or anything.
No, but I feel like even fashion, I think fashion's very serious. Like I think it's sad in a sense because it's like your worth is kind of wrapped up in like your job. And like I feel like here it's not so like, I think it's still important, don't get me wrong. I do think it's important, especially in London, to say that you work at certain companies or you do certain things. Or like, I remember I was dating a guy once and he was like saying like, oh yeah, like I could never imagine you like running your own business or anything like that. You don't seem like that kind of person. Like maybe you'd be like a teacher. And and the way he said it was just like, because you know, like being a teacher wasn't like good enough. And I was just like, for him, his worth was so wrapped up in the fact that he was an entrepreneur that he used that to put me down basically. But like I feel like that's more of an American way than a UK way. He was English,
but I feel like Americans don't care about entrepreneurs unless you made it.
Unless you made it, 100%.
They're like, if you're just starting at the bottom, they're like, eh.
I mean, in a sense of like, he felt like what you did was very, very important to who you were.
Yeah, it is. The school that you go to, the university, what fraternity were you in? Like those things.
The fraternity
are thing
is
like,
very crazy.
I had like people meeting for the first time, and they were all talking about what university did you go to. Like, this is crazy. I would never meet somebody here in the UK. And
we'd say like what university you went to, and then you'd move on.
But like, I feel like sometimes, like a lot of the time, that's not even one of the first questions. You ask that like way after, when that person's like, "Oh, I went to uni." You're like, "Oh, I went to this uni," like, and then you're done.
I don't think I've been asked what uni I went to in about 6-7 years.
People just don't care. But over there, it's such a big deal. Ivy League schools, like it's such a big deal about who you are and your upbringing and like your status, like that. It's a big thing.
I think you used the right word there, status. I think status is super important over there.
It is.
Whereas I just don't see it being as important here.
Everyone's just way more laid back about these things, I think. And everybody's way more understanding here that like that might not be the journey. Going to university and doing all these things might not be the journey. Whereas over there, it's still a bit like,
I feel like college is like a way of life. There.
Yeah,
like it's like a must.
Yeah, it's a must.
Whereas I don't think it is here.
But the reason why is also because in America, like you actually like up until like recently, you couldn't get a good job without a university degree, and definitely without like a bachelor, like a not bachelor's. What's the second one you get?
Masters.
The masters, yeah. Like if you don't have a master's, you're not really taking that seriously. Like you have to have a degree. Whereas here, I've got through life. I don't have a degree. I've got through my whole life. Nobody's ever asked me to see a degree.
No.
So
I've never ever at any point been asked what I got in university.
No.
That's crazy when you think about it. Fucking waste of 4 years and 30 grand to be never asked.
But they really, really care. Get in debt. Basically.
And their debt's crazy as well.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of thousands. Like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
My cousin's dad, bless him, is paid for 4 kids to go to university.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Like university over there is like a house.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
But university here now is like a house.
How much is university here now?
I think it's 12 grand a year.
But that's not a house.
Or 9 a year.
That's still not a house.
Yeah, but times by 4 years.
That's still not a house.
I mean, it's
they're
your
paying
deposit.
100k a year.
That's your deposit.
100k a year.
Yeah.
A year. 100.
Yeah, I think
That's
I think
crazy.
definitely my cousin's dad paid like at least like 80, 90, yeah.
But then they do get a lot of like grants, don't they? Like, I got that scholarship. You always hear about scholarships.
But scholarships are also hard to get.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you have to be super talented. You have to be super, like, you have to have all your extra credit. Like, you really have to do well. And if you mess up, you're gonna lose that. You have to really do well.
You have to keep it on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you get in-state students, so I think that's like the lower league.
Yeah, so like
it's
state
10
school.
to 11.
Yeah.
Out of state, 27 to 30. Private, 38 to 55. Community, 4 to 5.
Yeah,
but then that doesn't include any of your additional costs. So
community college is like,
what's community college?
Yeah, because I know a few people that my cousin knew that went to. She's like, he's at community college.
Oh, it's like shade.
Yeah, it's like the basic.
Oh, fuck. And then they said the problem is that you like that doesn't include so like room and board, books and supplies, personal expenses and transportation. So then, like on average, a private school will be 75 grand a year.
Yeah, I think
75
at least like 8
grand.
Yeah,
for the top of the line for
and
the basics.
His kids went to good schools, but not like Harvard.
But
you know?
Public in-state, so that's like above community college. That's still 30 grand a year without your including tuition, room, board expenses. 30 grand a year.
You have to have a job, really.
But that's why you always see these girls. They're like, yeah, I'm just paying for college, and they're up in the strip club because it's fucking expensive. Like, that's crazy.
And if you don't have parents that are going to pay for it, and you have to get the loan out.
And that's why a lot of people join the army, isn't it?
Did you know that their student loan like goes on their credit?
Yeah. Crazy. I heard that recently.
That's mad.
These times I'll be out here dodging paying my fucking student loan. These lot are fucking got it on their credit score, so you can't even dodge.
The credit score is a big thing there as well, because me and my cousin were talking about this the other day. Like, your credit score really defines who you are.
Do you remember on Love Is Blind, the girl was like, "You've got debt, so your credit score's low," and she like ended it because it's had a bad credit score.
Somebody I know, like their friend basically was like, "You have bad credit, like we can't be friends." Yeah, like people will cut somebody off because they have bad credit, which is wild because I feel like, imagine here you being like, oh, like your credit score is on like the middle of the thing, like no, like unfair.
But I feel like
like, it's not good, it's unfair.
I feel like it must be harder for them to change their credit then, because we can have like a bad year and then you can have a good year and your credit can go back up to good. Yeah. Whereas for them, maybe it takes like a really long time.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And think about it, Americans are in a lot of debt as it is. So like paying it off, they're not going to be paying off like large chunks or amounts. Like,
so like, what about in the rest of Europe? Do they pay for like school? Do they pay for school in Slovenia?
I have no idea.
That's Charles.
I think a lot of Europe.
GPT.
I think a lot of European countries' university is free as well.
That's what I thought. I don't even know if that would even count as like a cultural difference. I feel like, is that more of like a economical difference? Public universities in Germany do not charge tuition fees for both domestic or international students. Even international students have to pay.
They don't.
No.
Where's that?
In Germany.
Yeah, Germany is a really good place to live.
I've heard good things. I've heard the health system's so good. Yeah. And I heard like everybody kind of like knows like first names their doctor in Germany.
Germany is really good.
In Norway, students only pay a small semester fee, €30. €30 to go to university.
I should have went to university in Europe.
We should have been out of it. Sweden though, ranges from 7,500 to 25 grand. So that's quite a lot. Finland typically ranging from 6 to 18. Denmark 6 to 16. Countries with low tuition fees: France around 170 a year. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's decent.
Austria 1,500 a year. Italy 4,000 a year. Spain 700 to 2,500, and then doesn't talk about
crazy.
The rest of the countries. They're the main countries that came up. But that's on the whole. Like, there's probably like 3 countries there that have like tuition fees as high as ours. But I think no one's as high as America.
You also have to remember US and like I guess UK too. Like, we've probably got some of the best schools.
Should we go
compared to Europe?
I don't actually know.
Like, reputable.
Because I feel like Germany is so. Do you know what? Also, I think, but a big thing about that is that it's like language. Because like, if I'm a student here and I'm like, okay, cool, Austria has the best art school in the world, I can't go there because they're probably not speaking English.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? So like, it probably then that brings down the threshold of like what's seen as like the best school, because like you can't go there unless you know the language. Whereas like most people, like if you're in Europe or if you're in Asia or Africa, a lot of people still learn English at school. Yeah. So they're gonna come to like England or America for university because they can get by. You know what? school. 'Cause I actually thought that the education in Singapore was seen as the best, but I actually don't know.
I heard that Switzerland's the best.
Really? Ooh. Finland
Mm.
is number 1. Singapore number 2. South Korea number 3. Japan number 4.
Is this university though?
This is just like overall education. Should I put university?
Yeah.
'Cause I do feel like Harvard is like meant to be like the best,
Yeah.
you know? But then Cambridge and Oxford are
Princeton.
supposed to be like just as good.
Yeah.
So
And Yale.
yeah, Yale. In school, no. And like you
Harvard,
always see in
Princeton,
films
and
like,
Yale.
I'm going to Brown
Yeah.
or MIT.
Mm.
So the best universities in the world are concentrated on a few key regions, particularly United States and the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then a few other countries in Europe and Asia ranking, such as QS World Universities ranking. So it doesn't have it doesn't say what country is the best. It just tells you what universities are the best in that country. So it doesn't actually have a list of like who's the
Okay.
best. But it's saying these basically, I'm just going to say that these are on par then. So like America, the UK, Europe, it would be Switzerland, Copenhagen, and as one really good school in France. And then Singapore, the University of Asia, and the University of Tokyo. Australia is apparently on par with all of these as well.
Oh.
So
I
like,
never really heard about schooling in Australia.
no, me either. I never hear someone be like, "Oh, I'm going to go to school in Australia." Okay, so I think we can agree there's a lot of differences, country to country,
Yeah.
and state to state, but probably more. I'm still going to say Europe is probably a lot more diverse, personally. However, I do think that like, as Europeans, I think we brush under the rug like how diverse America actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's one place. Like I do think there's a lot of differences there.
Yeah.
But I do think that is also because
I mean, the fact that Europeans think we're American just shows how little they know.
Yeah, no
Because
facts.
if you hear us speaking, you know that we're obviously not.
There's so many times we've been in Europe and
Yeah.
people have been like, "Oh, I thought you were American," which is crazy.
Mm.
But like, yeah, I think on the whole, I think Europeans we brush under the rug like America is a very diverse place, but is it as diverse as Europe? I'm gonna say no, just because
Yeah,
there's
probably not.
I think purely just because like history, even
Yeah.
you know, like we have like a head start on all these things, but otherwise, but modern day, however, I think they're the same differences.
It's modern. What do you mean?
So like if we say like the reason that Europe is obviously seen, sorry guys, we're gonna end this podcast pretty soon. The reason that Europe is like really seen as like so culturally different is because we have so many more years on America.
Yeah.
Because modern day America, so the United States is only
Yeah.
200 and whatever years old.
Yeah.
Whereas, but if we took like the whole of America and like went back as far back as we go with Europe, would we have more cultural differences? I think we just brush a lot of shit under the rug, and I think like modern day Europe has a lot more similarities to modern day America than I think we realize. But-
Yeah.
Okay, well that was fun.
Felt
Didn't it?
cultured.
It was cultured. It was very
Yes.
cultured. I feel. Yeah.
Cultured.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
And see you again soon.
Bye.
Nice. Bye.